This is the story of the teacher who changed my life, not just because she taught me lessons, but because she taught me about life. It was my first day at a new school, and I was nervous. I didn't know anyone, and everything felt so unfamiliar. As I walked into the classroom, my heart pounded. And then I saw her, Miss Miller. At first glance, she looked like any other teacher. But the moment she spoke, I knew she was different. Her voice was warm, her smile was genuine, and she had a way of making everyone feel important, even those who hadn't said a word. I didn't realize it then, but Miss Miller would change my life in ways I never expected. I quietly took a seat at the back of the classroom, hoping no one would notice how nervous I was. The other students seemed so confident, chatting and laughing like they had known each other forever. But I felt like an outsider, afraid of making mistakes. Miss Miller started the class with a simple greeting. "Good morning, everyone. I hope you're all ready to learn something new today." Her voice was soft and inviting, and somehow, it made me feel a little more at ease. As she began teaching, I noticed something special about her. She didn't rush through lessons or make students feel embarrassed if they didn't know an answer. Instead, she patiently explained things, making sure everyone understood. Whenever someone struggled with a question, she would smile and say, "It's okay. We'll figure it out together." Her kindness made me feel safe. Day by day, I found myself looking forward to her class more than any other. Weeks passed, and my nervousness faded. Miss Miller's way of teaching was unlike anything I had experienced before. Learning with her didn't feel like a chore, it felt like an adventure. Every lesson was more than just facts and formulas, it was a lesson about life itself. And without even realizing it, I had grown to admire her, not just as a teacher, but as a person. She had changed the way I saw learning, and in doing so, she had changed me. She always encouraged us to ask questions. I remember one day when I was really struggling with a math problem. I didn't want to ask for help because I was afraid my question might sound silly. But then I remembered Miss Miller's words, "There's no such thing as a silly question. Asking questions is the best way to learn." Taking a deep breath, I raised my hand. "Miss Miller, I don't understand this part. Can you explain it again?" She looked at me with a warm smile and walked over without hesitation. Kneeling beside my desk, she said gently, "It's okay. Let's break this down together." Step by step, she guided me through the problem, never making me feel embarrassed or rushed. She didn't just give me the answer, she helped me understand the process. And slowly but surely, the problem that once seemed impossible started to make sense. That moment changed something in me. I had always been afraid of making mistakes, but Miss Miller showed me that struggling wasn't a sign of failure, it was part of learning. My confidence grew, and from then on, I started looking forward to challenges instead of fearing them. Whenever I didn't understand something, I knew I could turn to Miss Miller. She wasn't just my teacher. She was a mentor, someone who truly cared about my success. Over time, I began to realize that my feelings for her went beyond just appreciation. I admired her, not just for her teaching, but for who she was as a person. I admired how she treated everyone with kindness, no matter who they were or where they came from. I admired her patience, how she never lost her calm, no matter how difficult the situation was. She had this incredible ability to make every student feel special, even on their worst days. And then, something else started to happen. My heart would race every time she smiled at me or praised my work. But it wasn't love in the way you might think. It wasn't romantic, it was something deeper: admiration, respect, gratitude. One day, I stayed after class to ask Miss Miller for help with an essay. I didn't know it then, but that moment would become one of the most important conversations of my life. I was struggling to write. As I spoke, I felt a little nervous, my hands were shaking slightly. But Miss Miller's calming presence made everything seem better. She listened carefully, her eyes full of patience and understanding. Then she smiled. "You're doing great," she said gently. "Just take your time, and remember, it's okay to make mistakes. That's how we learn." Those words stayed with me long after I left the classroom. She taught me that mistakes weren't something to fear, they were simply part of the learning process. And that lesson has helped me in every part of my life. Even now, during this time, I began to see Miss Miller as more than just a teacher. She was a role model, someone I looked up to and admired for her wisdom, kindness, and strength. As the year went on, I realized that what she taught us went far beyond textbooks. She taught us about life, she showed us the power of kindness, how to truly listen with empathy, and how to face challenges with a positive attitude. There were days when I felt frustrated with myself, like I wasn't good enough, like I wasn't making any progress. But whenever I felt like giving up, Miss Miller was always there with a reminder. The only way to truly fail, she once told us, is to give up. Never give up on yourself, even when things get tough. Those words became my mantra. Whenever I felt down or discouraged, I would hear her voice in my mind, pushing me to keep going. Miss Miller also taught me something even more powerful, the importance of believing in others. She believed in all of us, even when we didn't believe in ourselves. She encouraged us to push past our limits, to strive for our best, and to never settle for less than what we were capable of. But the lesson that stayed with me the most was a simple one, yet it changed the way I saw the world. Success isn't about being perfect, Miss Miller told us one day. It's about doing your best and learning from your mistakes. And with those words, she gave me the confidence to embrace my journey, mistakes and all. That lesson taught me that it was okay not to always be the best. What truly mattered was trying my hardest and being kind to myself along the way. As the school year came to an end, I realized that Miss Miller had given me more than just textbook lessons. She had helped me grow, not just as a student, but as a person. Because of her, I became more confident, more resilient, and more compassionate. Though I never told Miss Miller how much she meant to me, I think she knew. She was the kind of teacher who could sense when her students needed encouragement, and she always knew the right thing to say. Looking back, I understand something important: the best kind of love isn't always romantic. Sometimes, it's the love of a teacher who believes in you when no one else does. It's the kind of love that helps you grow, lifts you up when you fall, and pushes you to be better. Miss Miller wasn't just a teacher to me. She was a guiding light, someone who changed my life in ways I will never forget. And for that, I will always be grateful. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helped you learn some new English phrases and expressions. Remember, learning English isn't just about memorizing words, it's about growing, connecting, and sharing stories. Keep learning, keep growing, and I'll see you in the next video. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.